A climber lies on his side under a rock, near the summit of Everest. His legs stretch into the path, forcing passers-by to gingerly step over his neon green climbing boots. His name is Tsengan Paljor, but most who encounter him know him only as Green Boots. For nearly 20 years, his body, located not far from Mount Everest summit, has served as a green trail marker for those seeking to conquer the world's highest mountain from its north face. Many have lost their lives on Everest, and like Paljor, the vast majority of them remain on the mountain. But Paljor's body, thanks to its position, came to be one of the most well-known. Really everybody, especially those climbing on the north side, knows about Green Boots. Today, Mount Everest is home to more than 200 bodies. We often forget that, behind those coral figures asleep along the icy peak, there were first of all people, men and women with dreams, thoughts and stories to tell, just like you. Scant information is available about the man behind the nickname. Into a Google search, you will learn that Paljor, along with climbing partners Smanla and Morap, perished in the 1996 storm. Paljor, Wikipedia tells you, was a member of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police and was just 28 years old when he lost his life. We are in the region of Ladakh, in India's far north. It was here, in this high-altitude desert, that Tsengan Paljor was born in 1968. He grew up in Sakti, a village of whitewashed houses, barley fields, and poplar trees. Paljor had 5 siblings and was known in the village for his polite, tall, good-looking. Even as a teen, Paljor never had a girlfriend. He was simply too shy. He once told his brother that he was more interested in dedicating his life to something bigger than himself than in getting married. As the eldest son, Paljor no doubt felt pressured to provide for his family, which was struggling to make ends meet at their modest farm. So after completing the school, he tried for the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. The men who served in that armed force specialized in high-altitude landscapes, a necessity given that India's border with its Chinese neighbor stretches across the Himalayas. When he was selected to join an elite group of climbers who would undertake a risky but grandiose mission to become the first Indians ever to summit Everest from its north side, he chose not to reveal his true destination to his mom. Although Paljor's career already included many successful summits, Everest struck here as a being an exceedingly dangerous place. She implored her son not to go, but he told her he had to go. I must have a trout if I climb Everest. It will bring benefits for my family, he thought. Thinly, a monk, met Paljor days before he was due to leave. He gave a blessing before telling him goodbye. Thinly was the last family member to see Paljor alive. Paljor was young, strong and experienced, but Everest presents multitudes of ways to take the life of even the most well-prepared climber. Falls, avalanches, exposure, and more. A climber once ended a climb on Everest within 100 meters or 300 feet of the summit, credits his survival to always listening to the mountain and knowing when to turn back. Climbing had to be a round trip, but many of Everest's victims are likely people who don't recognize early warning signs because they lack sufficient experience to know what's normal. By the time they realize they are in trouble, it's too late. On Everest, things were proceeding without a hitch for Paljor and his comrades. For his strength and enthusiasm, Singh selected Pajor to be part of the first summit attack team, along with climbing partners Smalla and Morab and deputy leader Singh. However, almost immediately, the expedition was marred by mistakes. The problem started on the morning of 10 May, when the team was delayed by strong wind. They did not set out from Camp 6 until 8 am, rather than 3 am in the morning as planned. Singh had given the team strict order to turn around at 3 pm at the latest. Singh, however, was lagging far behind the 3 men. When he signaled for them to stop and return to camp, they either did not see him or ignored him. Watching as they pushed on, the frostbitten Singh had no choice but to descend back to camp without them. At last, at 3 pm that afternoon, an anxious Singh, awaiting news from advancing base camp, heard his walkie-talkie sputtered to life. It was Smalla. "Sir, we are heading towards the summit," Smalla announced. Singh was taken aback. "Oh no, the weather is very deceptive. Sir, please allow us to go up," Pajor said, his voice brimming with pride. But just then, the radio cut off. It was until 5:30 pm, deeming too late, that Singh heard back from his men. A flood of relief of excitement washed over him as Smalla announced that he, Pajor, and Morab were standing on the summit. Celebration immediately ensued, both at home and at camp. The men had just set a record for their country. Whether Pajor and his teammates actually summited, however, was later called into question. Krakauer, the writer that was present on the summit that day, and others suspect that the men unintentionally stopped 100 meters or 400 feet short of the peak, believing, due to the increasingly bad weather, that they had reached the top. The Indian team disappeared. A Japanese team was contacted, with the following day would reach the top. Indeed, the following day it seemed that the Japanese saw the Indian climbers, however, they only gave a summary help. Then, nothing more was known about the Indian climbers. Controversy erupted over this alleged rescue. However, the Japanese expedition was commercial, with customers, and they claimed that helping someone at 8,000 meters was an issue that could not be guaranteed. We will likely never really know what transpired in the last hours of Pajor, Smalla, and Morab's lives. Days later, the officer told Pajor's mother that her son was missing. She spent the next days traveling to all the local monasteries. She kept hoping he'd come back, because they never found the body. Eventually, Tog, her relatives, insisted that she face reality. Pajor would not be coming home. Although Pajor died a hero, his family received a pittance of $3,000, followed by a pension of about $15 per month, while his body would remain on the mountain, becoming a morbid feature of the landscape. When Everest takes a life, it also keeps it. Eventually, he became Green Boots, a climber without a name that people would pass by every year and wrote to their own personal glory. Decades later, he would disappear. Like all bodies on Everest, they are slowly transported downstream in the long run, becoming one with the mountain.